Hey everyone, welcome to the 45th episode of Dividing the Society. Today's guest is Jordan.
Hello, guys. I'm Jordan. I'm happy to be here and discuss an interesting topic. Um, I'm from Germany. I'm 21 years old, and I'm a pretty religious guy. And this topic today is pretty interesting for me. But who are you?
So, probably everyone who listens to this podcast knows me already. I'm Chris. I'm the host of this podcast, Dividing Society. Um, and every episode, I invite someone to discuss a viral topic. And today's topic is LGBTQ members, if they should be able to visit churches or not, or if religion is free to restrain them. Yep.
Oh, okay, and what is your overall view of that?
So for me, as a pretty neutral person, I think everybody who is a member of LGBTQ should be fully and openly able to visit any church. There's no restriction in any way for religion and LGBTQ. So yeah, I don't know. For me, it's just a thing of humanity. I get the point of religion being, yeah, sometimes a bit strange, but it's a humanity thing for me. So everyone should be able to visit a church how they like.
Okay, I fully respect that, Chris. But I come from a more traditional view. I believe in loving everyone. That's for sure. That's for sure. But I also believe that the Bible defines marriage. For example, as between man and woman. So that the points you can't change that for me, from my perspective. But I'm here to discuss this with you. Um, yeah, but that's my main point of today's topic.
Yeah, so I get that. Like I know churches and religion is a difficult thing to talk about, especially for religious persons. But I think the bigger question should be if exclusion harms. So religion stands for being open, being everyone is God's child, so to say. And I think a way of excluding people, even if they don't, if they're not the right image of like church, if they're not the ideal image, the ideal person of the church, um, it's just damaging, especially those who believe in God.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Um, I'm not completely off, but I also think churches need to stay true and scriptured on the Bible. For example, Paul's letter, talks about God's design of sex relationships and interactive relationships between woman and man. And if we change those values to fit in culture, where do we draw a line? So where's the limit? Where's the limit reached? So can we just change history and religion because of LGBTQ plus, for example? Um, or is there a limit? Is there a line where we can say, nah, that's not going to be happen?
Uh, so Jordan, you talked about Paul's letter for the design of sex and relationship, but actually isn't interpretation part of the faith, so-called faith journey? Um, I mean, the Bible was the Bible also justified slavery and um, kept women out of leadership. So I don't actually think that should be the way. Especially we got, as always, I got some sources ready. I looked up the Pew Research Center, which says 54% of US Christians under 30, so rather the young people, support same-sex marriage, means it's kind of shifting to people who are reading the scripture differently. So more likely through a lens of justice and compassion. What do you think about that?
That's true. That's true. Times have completely changed. So that the point with the woman and leaderships, that's completely right. We can take that history line. But I'm a bit worried that we are letting feelings overrule technology, and we not only can let our feelings rule. So Jesus did call us to love. So, for example, but he also called people to repentance. Sorry, in the Bible, called something sin. Can you just ignore that, or is it a point that we can ignore that? That we have these points in the Bible?
So actually, I don't think love and truth are opposites. So, like I already said, I think we've misunderstood what the Bible means by sin. In some cases, definitely not in every case, but I think there's a difference in between cultural norms from like about 2,000 years ago and real harm. Um, LGBTQ plus people are leaving churches, actually leaving churches, um, not not necessarily because they hate God. So that's not a line we can draw, but more likely because they're being judged and excluded.
Oh, fair, fair. I've seen that too, and I hate these. I hate that rejection drives people away. That's so disgusting. That's so annoying. But still, I believe churches can love LGBTQ plus people without affirming everything. Um, there has to be a middle ground. We have to meet in the middle. So we have to accept the one side and the other side. Maybe we should do more listening and less shouting. So we listen to the other perspective, uh, try to understand it, and I guess try to find a middle way.
I mean, from the perspective you were starting with, that's a pretty good point. So I can definitely agree with that. Um, Even though we see things differently, um, I mean we both want faith communities, like
Yeah, that's true.
to be a place of grace, so to
Yeah.
say. And I personally think, and I hope you understand my point. Um, Maybe the first step would be creating a space where people can belong, so where they can live how they want, how where they can live out their sexualities like however they want. So even before we agree at all, before we judge.
Yeah. And maybe churches need to learn how to wrestle with hard questions without shouting down or calling each other heretic. So maybe that's also a point.
I mean, that's literally what Jesus did, didn't he? So he sat with people, he listened, he challenged, but he never really rejected. And that's going back to the point where I mean, yeah, where we started off. So I think no one should be excluded. And that's the kind of church I still believe in, but we definitely need.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Same here. But I think, yeah, it's right. Church is a place where we can talk, and we have to talk, I guess. It's a meeting point for a lot of people, and sometimes you also have to talk about things that are uncomfortable, but you have to do it. You know, you have to do it.
Yeah, so that's the whole point of our podcast. So we want to make the world a better place and reach our audience like we do every episode. Um, to give everyone a better view of certain uncomfortable questions or uncomfortable situations or things that happen in the world. And yeah, um, before we end the podcast, like we always do, we get a question of one listener, to include you guys, of course.
Okay.
Let,
So
let's just
eventually.
let me take a look for a second so I can get it in. So
Take
so
your
so
time.
so
Take your time.
so guys, like we always do, we do not cut anything. We take our time. Take your time, grab some food, grab some drinks, like we do with our waters. Stay hydrated.
Maybe
Um,
like the podcast, share it to family and friends,
mm-hmm.
so everyone can see it. I mean, it's a pretty interesting topic.
Yeah. So actually, I need to do something right here. You know, you see my oh, you see my shared screen? That's the question we got. Um, that's from Buy Penny. Do we even see it? See it? Hold up.
I saw.
Mm, that's the right one. That's the right one.
Yeah, that's right.
So, Buy Penny asks us, how do you guys think? Does it affect LGBTQ members mentally if they're getting expelled from churches or religious communities? Kind of sad we didn't bring it up earlier
Yeah,
because we talked about it already. So the main thing about that is,
first of
um,
all, it's a great question. It's a great question.
yeah. First of all, we already talked about the fact that around 54% of the U.S. Christians under 30 support same-sex marriage, and also we talked about the fact that many people who do not hate the church turn away from the church just because they feeling expelled. Um, I actually think, like we also already talked about, it's just a thing of humanity. Many people who it's like with everything. Many people who feel expelled from anything suffer under that. So they feel expelled. They don't feel right. They maybe think there's something wrong with them, and that's the thing we don't want.
Yeah. So me as a religion guy, I can say it's pretty sad that people turn away from church because they get expelled of LGBTQ plus. So church is a place for everyone, and all should meet there. We should have our rules, like we talked about earlier. But I think nobody has to turn away from it because they're getting expelled, and I think that's a thing that's not great and it should be ending.
Yeah, right. But one thing we didn't really answer the question. Um, so what do you think how it's damaging or issuing people mentally who are getting pushed away, more likely pushed away from the church?
Yeah, that's always a fucking disgusting feeling, I guess. Sorry for the words, but every group that pushed you away, every public group, that's always a shit feeling. Um, you feel rejected, and nobody wants that. So maybe, yeah, LGBTQ plus member do suffer under this
Yeah,
pushing
they
away
definitely
from
suffer.
church.
But actually, one thing I thought about before we end the podcast. I know we're only doing 15 minutes episodes. That's our special gimmick. If you didn't know that, but we can take 2 more minutes. One thing I thought about is the fact that we don't really have a solution for the pushing away thing, except just opening the churches and forget the old understanding of the Bible. Because if you for example talk about like a church only for LGBTQ members, that will also be disgusting. So
Yeah.
that would be like, what would be a comparison? That would be like opening a church only for black people, because
Yeah.
we don't want them in our normal churches, so to say. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. That's right.
and that's a big thing. That's a big thing. Um, but so as I already said, we're already over the limit of our podcast. But I have to say, thank you, Jordan, for coming here, straight out of Germany. We're going international right now. If you like the podcast, share it, like it, tell your friends about the topic. It's really important. And yeah, see you guys.
See you guys soon.